My name is Danny Sullivan, and I've been fixing broken things for 23 years. Cars, motorcycles, lawnmowers, you name it. I can make it run again. What I couldn't fix was my marriage, though I didn't know it was broken until I heard my wife whispering in our kitchen at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. "I can't believe he still thinks I love him," Lisa said, her voice carrying that particular tone she used when she thought she was being clever. A man's voice answered, not mine. "He's just a harmless loser, babe. Don't worry about it." I stood frozen in my garage, grease still coating my hands from the transmission I'd been rebuilding. The kitchen window was cracked open, and their voices drifted out into the cool October air of Meadowbrook like poison gas. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced myself to stay quiet, to listen. "When are you going to tell him?" the voice continued. I recognized it now. Jake Morrison, the personal trainer from Elite Fitness, where Lisa had been spending her evenings for the past 6 months. "Soon," she said. "I just need to figure out the timing. Danny's so pathetic. He might actually cry." They both laughed. The sound made my stomach twist into knots. I crept closer to the window, staying in the shadows. Through the gap in the curtains, I could see them sitting at my kitchen table, the one I'd built with my own hands 3 years ago for our anniversary. Lisa wore that red dress I'd complimented her on earlier. Jake had his shirt off, showing the muscles that had apparently impressed my wife enough to wreck our 18-year marriage. "What about Emma?" Jake asked, referring to our 21-year-old daughter. "She already thinks her father's embarrassing," Lisa said, taking a sip from what looked like my good whiskey. "She'll get over it. Besides, she likes you better anyway." That hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Emma had been distant lately, rolling her eyes whenever I tried to talk to her, spending more time with Lisa's friends than with me. Now I understood why. "And the house?" Jake pressed. "Danny's name is on the mortgage, but I've been handling the finances for years. He has no idea what I've been moving around." Lisa's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "By the time he figures it out, we'll be long gone. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories." I'd heard enough. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip the wrench I was holding. 23 years of marriage, and this was how it ended, with my wife and her boyfriend planning my destruction in my own kitchen, drinking my whiskey and laughing about what a fool I was. But I wasn't going to confront them. Not yet. I'd learned patience in this business. Sometimes you had to take apart an entire engine to find the one broken part that was causing all the trouble. Lisa and Jake had just shown me exactly what was broken in my life. Now I had to decide what to do about it. I slipped back into the garage and quietly gathered my tools. The transmission could wait. I had more important things to fix. The next morning, Lisa acted like nothing had happened. She kissed my cheek before leaving for work, told me she'd be late because of a client dinner, and reminded me to pick up Emma from her friend's house. The same routine we'd followed for months, except now I knew it was all lies. "Have a good day, honey," she said, adjusting her makeup in the hallway mirror. "You too," I replied, watching her reflection. She looked pleased with herself, like she was getting away with something clever. In her mind, she probably was. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table where they'd planned my humiliation. The whiskey glasses were still in the sink, lipstick stains on one rim. Lisa had always been careless about cleaning up her messes. She'd never expected me to be smart enough to notice. That was her first mistake. I spent the morning at Sullivan's garage, the auto shop I'd built from the ground up over the past 15 years. My customers trusted me because I was honest, because I solved their problems without taking advantage of them. In Meadowbrook, that meant something. This town had been fading slowly since the factory closed, and people remembered who they could rely on. "You look like hell, Danny," said Pete Kowalski, dropping off his ancient Buick for a brake job. Pete was my age, worked construction when he could find it, and never had much money. I always gave him a fair price. "Just tired," I told him, popping the hood. "This'll be ready by Friday." "You sure? I can wait until next week if money's tight." That was Pete, always worried about everyone else. "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of you." He nodded and headed for the door, then turned back. "Danny, you and Lisa doing okay? She seemed different at the block party last weekend." Different. That was one way to put it. "We're fine, Pete. Thanks for asking." But we weren't fine, and apparently everyone in town could see it except me. Around noon, I drove over to Elite Fitness. The gym was in the newer part of town, all glass and chrome and motivational posters. Jake Morrison's truck was parked out front. A lifted Ford with custom rims that probably cost more than most people in Meadowbrook made in 6 months. I sat in my own truck, watching the building. Through the windows, I could see Jake working with a client, some suburban housewife who giggled at everything he said. He was good-looking in that obvious way. Tall, muscled, perfect teeth. The kind of man who'd never had grease under his fingernails or worried about making payroll. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Okay, love you." She responded with a heart emoji. Even her lies were lazy. That evening, I picked up Emma from her friend Rachel's house. My daughter slumped into the passenger seat without looking at me, earbuds already in place. "How was your day?" I asked. She pulled out one earbud with an exaggerated sigh. "Fine." "Rachel's mom says you girls are planning something for Halloween." "Maybe." Emma was scrolling through her phone, barely acknowledging my existence. "Want to grab dinner? Your mom's working late again." "I already ate." She put the earbud back in, effectively ending our conversation. I tried to remember when Emma had started treating me like I was invisible. Had it been gradual, or had I just been too distracted to notice? Either way, it hurt more than I wanted to admit. At home, Emma disappeared into her room while I heated up leftover pizza. The house felt empty, even with both of us in it. I found myself listening for Lisa's car, wondering if she'd come home at all, or if she was planning to spend the night with Jake. Around 10 o'clock, my phone rang. Lisa's number. "Hey," I answered. "Hi, honey. Just wanted to let you know I'll be really late. This client is being difficult, and we might have to work until midnight." In the background, I could hear music and laughter, not the sound of an office. "That's rough," I said. "Which client?" A pause. "The Henderson account. You don't know them." "Right. Well, be safe driving home." "I will. Love you." "Love you too." But as I hung up, I realized I wasn't sure if that was still true. The next few days passed in a strange kind of limbo. Lisa continued her charade of being a devoted wife, while I played the part of the oblivious husband. But I was watching now, really watching, and the signs were everywhere. She'd started working out obsessively, buying new clothes, taking longer showers. Her phone was always face down, and she'd developed a habit of stepping outside to take calls. When I asked about her day, her answers were vague and rehearsed. The breaking point came on Friday afternoon. I was at the garage when my friend Tommy Brennan stopped by. Tommy was an ex-cop who ran the boxing gym on the south side of town, and he had that particular way of seeing through people's nonsense that came from 20 years of police work. "Danny, we need to talk," he said, closing the office door behind him. I looked up from the invoice I was writing. "What's up?" "It's about Lisa." Tommy's expression was grim. I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but what? "I saw her yesterday, at the Riverside Motel." He paused, letting that sink in. She wasn't alone. The invoice slipped from my hands. The Riverside was the kind of place people went when they didn't want to be seen. Cheap, discreet, and about as romantic as a gas station bathroom. "You sure it was her?" "Positive. Red Honda Civic. License plate I've seen in your driveway 100 times. Tommy sat down across from me. "I'm sorry, man. I know this isn't what you want to hear." "Who was she with?" "Some musclehead in a tank top. Looked like he spent more on protein powder than I make in a month." "Jake Morrison, of course." "How long have you known?" I asked. "I just found out yesterday. But Danny, if I noticed, other people have too. Word gets around in a town this size." That was the worst part. Not just that Lisa was cheating, but that I was probably the last person in Meadowbrook to figure it out. How many people had been looking at me with pity, wondering when I'd finally catch on? After Tommy left, I sat in my office staring at the wall. 23 years of marriage, and it had come to this. My wife sneaking around with her personal trainer while I worked 60-hour weeks to keep our life together. But anger was starting to replace the hurt. Lisa thought I was too stupid to figure out her game, too weak to do anything about it. She'd underestimated me, and that was going to be her second mistake. I closed the garage early and drove home. Lisa's car was in the driveway, which surprised me. She'd been avoiding the house lately, always finding excuses to be somewhere else. "You're home early," she said when I walked into the kitchen. She was making dinner, actually cooking, something she hadn't done in months. "Slow day," I lied. "This smells good." "Thought I'd make your favorite." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We haven't spent much time together lately." Was this guilt, or was she planning something? With Lisa, it was hard to tell. "Where's Emma?" "Upstairs. She's been in a mood all day." Lisa stirred the sauce, not looking at me. Danny, I've been thinking. Maybe we should take a vacation, just the two of us. That sounds nice. Where were you thinking? I don't know. Somewhere warm. Maybe Florida? Florida. Far from Meadowbrook, far from anyone who might know us. I wondered if Jake was planning to meet her there, or if this was her way of setting up a clean exit. Let me check the schedule at the garage, I said. Business has been picking up. That's great, honey. You work so hard. The concern in her voice sounded genuine, which made it even more insulting. She was getting better at lying, or maybe I was just noticing the performance for the first time. We ate dinner together like a normal family. Emma joined us, though she spent most of the meal texting. Lisa asked about my day, complimented the work I'd done on the kitchen cabinets, even laughed at one of my jokes. If I hadn't overheard her conversation with Jake, I might have thought we were getting back on track. But I had heard it, and now every gesture felt calculated. After dinner, Lisa went upstairs for a shower. I helped Emma load the dishwasher, hoping for a chance to connect with my daughter. Dad? She said suddenly. Yeah? Are you and Mom okay? The question caught me off guard. Why do you ask? Emma shrugged, not meeting my eyes. I don't know. Things feel weird lately. Weird how? Like you're both pretending everything's fine, but it's not. She closed the dishwasher and turned to face me. Rachel's parents got divorced last year. It started like this. My heart ached for her. Emma was smart enough to sense the tension, but too young to understand what was really happening. Or maybe she understood more than I gave her credit for. Your mom and I are working through some things, I said carefully. But we both love you, no matter what. That's what Rachel's parents said, too. Before I could respond, Emma headed upstairs. I stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of our fake family dinner. Later that night, after Lisa had gone to bed, I sat in my garage workshop. This was where I did my best thinking, surrounded by tools and half-finished projects. The space smelled like motor oil and sawdust, honest smells that reminded me who I was. I thought about Tommy's warning, about Emma's questions, about the way Lisa had looked at me during dinner. She was planning something, I was sure of it. The vacation suggestion, the sudden attention, it was all part of some larger scheme. But I was planning too now. And unlike Lisa, I wasn't going to underestimate my opponent. I pulled out my laptop and started researching. Elite Fitness, Jake Morrison, the Riverside Motel. If Lisa wanted to play games, I needed to understand the rules. What I found was interesting. Jake Morrison wasn't just a personal trainer, he was also in significant debt. Court records showed multiple lawsuits from creditors, a foreclosure notice on his apartment, and a bankruptcy filing that had been dismissed due to incomplete paperwork. So that was it. Lisa wasn't just having an affair, she was being targeted by someone who needed money, someone who saw a lonely housewife with access to her husband's business accounts. The question was, did Lisa know she was being played, or was she just another victim in Jake's con game? Either way, I was done being the fool in this story. Saturday morning brought the first real test of my newfound awareness. Lisa announced she was going to spend the day shopping with her friend Karen, then maybe catch a movie. Emma was going to a party at Rachel's house, that I'd have the whole day to myself. Don't wait up, Lisa said, kissing my forehead. You know how Karen and I get when we start talking. Karen lived in Florida now, had for 3 years, but I just smiled and told her to have fun. After they left, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and planning my next move. I could follow Lisa, confront her directly, or I could be smart about this. In my business, rushing into a repair without understanding the problem usually made things worse. I decided to visit the source. Elite Fitness was busy on Saturday mornings, full of weekend warriors trying to work off their weekday sins. I walked in wearing my best jeans and a clean shirt, trying to look like a potential customer rather than a suspicious husband. Jake was easy to spot. He was working with an older woman near the free weights, his hands on her shoulders as he corrected her form. Up close, he was even more obnoxious than I'd expected. All flash and no substance, like a sports car with a rebuilt engine. Can I help you? A young woman at the front desk smiled at me. I'm thinking about joining, I said. Maybe getting a personal trainer. I've heard good things about Jake Morrison. Oh, Jake's great. He's actually with a client right now, but I can schedule you for a consultation. That's okay. I'll just watch for a minute, get a feel for his style. I found a spot on a bench where I could observe without being obvious. Jake was good at his job, I had to admit. He was encouraging without being pushy, professional, but friendly. I could see why women would find him appealing. What I couldn't see was what made him worth destroying a marriage for. After about 10 minutes, Jake finished with his client and headed toward the water fountain. I intercepted him. Excuse me, are you Jake Morrison? He turned, flashing that perfect smile. That's me. What can I do for you? I'm thinking about getting back in shape. My wife's been coming here, says you're the best trainer in town. Your wife? His expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. What's her name? Lisa Sullivan. Now I saw it. A flicker of recognition, maybe even guilt. But he recovered quickly. Oh, sure, Lisa's great. Really dedicated to her fitness goals. He paused. I didn't know she was married. Liar. But I kept my expression neutral. 23 years next month. She's been coming home exhausted from these workouts, but she loves the results. That's great. Really great. Jake was starting to look uncomfortable. So you're interested in training too? Maybe. What's your rate? $80 an hour for individual sessions, but I'm pretty booked up right now. $80 an hour. I did the math quickly. Lisa had been coming here 3 times a week for 6 months. That was almost $4,000, money that had come out of our joint account without any discussion. That's steep, I said. You get what you pay for. The charm was wearing thin now. Listen, I should get back to my clients. Of course. Just one more question. Do you ever do sessions outside the gym? Lisa mentioned something about meeting at different locations. Jake's jaw tightened. Sometimes I do home visits for special clients. It's more convenient for people with busy schedules. Home visits. That makes sense. I smiled, letting him think he'd fooled me. Well, thanks for your time. I'll think about it. I left him standing there, probably wondering how much I actually knew. The answer was, more than he thought, but not as much as I needed. My next stop was the Riverside Motel. The desk clerk was a kid who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, which made him perfect for my purposes. I think my wife left her earrings here yesterday, I said, sliding a 20 across the counter. Room 12, I think. She was with her trainer, working on some kind of fitness consultation. The kid pocketed the 20 without looking at it. Yeah, I remember her. Red car, blonde hair? That's her. They were here for about 2 hours, left separately. He shrugged. People think we don't notice, but we notice everything. I bet you do. Thanks for checking on those earrings. No problem, man. Sorry about your situation. Even the motel clerk felt bad for me. This was worse than I'd thought. I spent the rest of the day driving around Meadowbrook, thinking about my options. I could file for divorce, but that would mean splitting everything down the middle, including the garage I'd built with my own hands. I could try counseling, but Lisa had already made her choice. Or I could fight back. The more I thought about it, the more I liked the third option. That evening, Lisa came home glowing with satisfaction. She'd had a wonderful day with Karen, found some amazing deals at the mall, and felt so much better after getting out of the house. You should call Karen sometime, she said over dinner. She asks about you. I should, I agreed. What's her number these days? Oh, you know Karen. She changes phones constantly. I'll get it for you later. More lies, but I was getting used to them. Emma seemed happier than she'd been in weeks. The party at Rachel's had gone well, and she actually talked to me about her classes, her friends, her plans for the weekend. For a few minutes, it felt like we were a real family again. But then Lisa's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it with that secretive smile I'd learned to recognize. Work emergency, she said, standing up from the table. I need to take this. She stepped outside, closing the door behind her. Through the window, I watched her pace back and forth, animated and happy in a way she never was when talking to her actual boss. Dad? Emma was looking at me with concern. You okay? Fine, sweetheart. Just thinking about work stuff. But I wasn't thinking about work. I was thinking about how Lisa's face had lit up when she saw that text, and how long it had been since she'd looked at me that way. I was thinking about Jake Morrison's debt problems and Lisa's sudden interest in taking a vacation. I was thinking about the 23 years I'd spent building a life with someone who was planning to throw it all away for a man she'd known 6 months. Most of all, I was thinking about what I was going to do about it. Because I was done being the victim in this story. Lisa wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that I'd been underestimated my whole life, and I was very good at proving people wrong. The question wasn't whether I was going to fight back. The question was how far I was willing to go. Sunday brought an unexpected visitor. I was in the garage working on Pete's Buick when Karen Walsh knocked on the side door. Karen was Lisa's oldest friend, the one person she'd always turned to when she needed advice or support. Seeing her in my driveway was like finding a wrench in a toolbox where it didn't belong. Danny, we need to talk, she said without preamble. I wiped my hands on a rag, studying her face. Karen looked tired, older than her 40 years, and there was something in her expression I couldn't quite read. "Come on in," I said, gesturing toward my office. "Want some coffee?" "This isn't a social call." She followed me inside and closed the door. "I know what you're thinking about Lisa." My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice steady. "What am I thinking about Lisa?" "That she's having an affair, that she's planning to leave you." Karen sat down across from my desk. "You're right." The confirmation hit me like a punch to the gut, even though I'd known it was true. Hearing it from Karen made it real in a way that my own suspicions hadn't. "How long have you known?" I asked. "Months. She's been calling me almost every day, talking about Jake, about how unhappy she is, about her plans for the future." Karen's voice was flat, emotionless. "I told her she was making a mistake, but she wouldn't listen." "Why are you telling me this?" Karen was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. When she looked up, her eyes were hard. "Because I'm tired of being used," she said. "Lisa's been using my name as cover for months, telling you she's with me when she's really with him, making me part of her lies." "I figured that out yesterday," I said. "You moved to Florida 3 years ago." "Exactly. But it goes deeper than that, Danny. Much deeper." Karen leaned forward. "Lisa's been planning this for almost a year. Not just the affair, the whole thing. She's been moving money around, talking to lawyers, setting up a new life. And she's been using me to help her do it." The room felt like it was spinning. "What do you mean?" "She opened a bank account in my name, had mail sent to my address, used my credit to co-sign a lease on an apartment in Tampa." Karen's voice was getting harder. She told me it was temporary, that she just needed time to figure things out. But last week, I found out the truth. Which is? She's planning to disappear. Take Emma, clean out your accounts, and start over in Florida with Jake. She's been telling him that you're abusive, that she's afraid of you, that she needs to escape. Karen pulled a folder from her purse and slid it across the desk. "These are copies of emails she sent me. Read them." I opened the folder with shaking hands. The first email was dated 6 months ago. "Karen, I can't take it anymore. Danny's getting worse. He doesn't hit me, but the emotional abuse is constant. I'm scared of what he might do if I try to leave. I need your help." The lies were so detailed, so convincing, that for a moment I wondered if I was the one who was wrong. Had I been emotionally abusive without realizing it? Was Lisa really afraid of me? But then I read the next email, dated just 2 weeks ago. Everything's falling into place. "Jake found a job at a gym in Tampa, and the apartment you helped me get is perfect. Danny still has no idea what's coming. By the time he figures it out, we'll be long gone with Emma and enough money to start over. He's so pathetic. He probably won't even fight the divorce." The words hit me like physical blows. Not just the betrayal, but the casual cruelty of it. The way she'd written off 23 years of marriage like it was a bad business deal. "There's more," Karen said quietly. I kept reading, email after email detailing Lisa's plans, her contempt for me, her excitement about her new life. She'd been planning to take Emma during what was supposed to be a mother-daughter weekend trip, then serve me with divorce papers from Florida where I'd have no legal recourse. The final email was the worst. "Danny's so stupid. He actually thinks I'm working late when I'm with Jake. He has no idea I've been draining our savings account for months. By the time this is over, he'll be lucky to keep that pathetic garage of his." I can't wait to see his face when he realizes how completely I've outsmarted him. I closed the folder and looked at Karen. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I'm done being her accomplice." Karen's voice was bitter. "I thought I was helping a friend escape an unhappy marriage. Instead, I was helping her destroy a good man and steal his daughter. That's not who I want to be." "What does she want you to do next?" "Pick her and Emma up next Friday, drive them to the airport, help them disappear." Karen stood up. "But I'm not going to do it, Danny. I'm going to help you instead." "Help me what?" "Stop her before she ruins Emma's life along with yours." After Karen left, I sat in my office staring at the folder. Everything I'd suspected was true, but the reality was worse than I'd imagined. Lisa hadn't just been unfaithful, she'd been systematically destroying our life together while pretending to be a victim. But now I had something I hadn't had before: proof and an ally. I spent the rest of the day making plans. Real plans, not the vague ideas of revenge I'd been nursing. If Lisa wanted to play games, I was going to show her what a real game looked like. That evening, I acted like nothing had changed. Lisa was in a good mood, chatting about her day, asking about mine. She even suggested we watch a movie together, something we hadn't done in months. "You seem happy," I said as we settled onto the couch. "I am happy. Things feel clearer lately, like I know where I'm headed." She curled up next to me, resting her head on my shoulder. "I love you, Danny." The lies came so easily to her now. But I played along. I love you too, I said, stroking her hair. And in that moment, I realized something that surprised me. I did still love her. Not the woman sitting next to me. She was a stranger wearing my wife's face. But I loved the woman I'd married 23 years ago. The woman who'd believed in my dreams and supported me when I started the garage. That woman deserved better than what Lisa had become. Emma deserved better too, which meant it was time to stop being the victim in this story and start being the hero. Monday morning, I called in sick to the garage for the first time in 5 years. I had work to do, but it wasn't the kind that involved engines or transmissions. My first stop was the bank. I'd been letting Lisa handle most of our finances for years, trusting her to manage the accounts, while I focused on building the business. That trust had been a mistake, but it was one I could fix. I'd like to review all our account activity for the past year, I told the manager, a woman named Patricia, who'd known me since I'd opened my business account. Of course, Mr. Sullivan. Is there a problem? I'm not sure yet. That's what I'm trying to find out. Patricia printed out the statements, and we went through them together. The pattern was obvious once I knew what to look for. Small withdrawals at first, then larger ones. Money transferred to accounts I didn't recognize. Cash advances on credit cards I didn't know we had. This account here, Patricia pointed to a recurring transfer. It's been receiving $500 a month for the past 8 months. Whose account is it? I can't give you the account holder's name, but I can tell you it's at a bank in Tampa. Tampa, where Karen lived, where Lisa had been planning her escape. How much total? I asked. Patricia did the math. Approximately $15,000 from your joint accounts, plus another $8,000 in credit card advances. $23,000. Almost half our savings, gone without my knowledge or consent. What are my options? I asked. Well, since these are joint accounts, technically she had the right to withdraw the money, but the credit card advances might be different, especially if you didn't authorize them. I left the bank with copies of everything and a new understanding of just how thoroughly Lisa had been planning my destruction. But I also left with something else, the knowledge that she'd made her first real mistake. The credit card advances were fraud. Clear, provable fraud that I could use to stop her before she disappeared with Emma. My next stop was Tommy's boxing gym. I found him working with a teenage kid who reminded me of myself at that age, all elbows and determination, trying to prove he was tougher than he looked. Take 5, Marcus, Tommy told the kid. Danny, what's up? You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse, I've seen my bank statements. I handed him the folder Karen had given me. Read this when you have time, but right now, I need your help with something else. Name it. I need to know everything you can find out about Jake Morrison. His debts, his background, his plans, everything. Tommy's expression hardened. You want me to investigate him? I want you to help me protect my daughter. Lisa's planning to take Emma and disappear on Friday. I need ammunition to stop her. Consider it done? Tommy glanced toward the teenager, who was pretending not to listen. Marcus, hit the heavy bag for 20 minutes. I need to make some calls. While Tommy worked his contacts, I drove to Emma's college. She was taking classes at the community college while figuring out her major, and I knew she'd be in the library studying for midterms. I found her at a corner table, surrounded by textbooks and energy drink cans. She looked up when I approached, surprised to see me. Dad, what are you doing here? We need to talk, sweetheart. Somewhere private. Emma must have heard something in my voice because she packed up her books without argument. We walked to my truck in silence, and I drove to the park where I'd taught her to ride a bike 15 years ago. Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me, I said, once we'd found a quiet bench. Has your mother talked to you about taking a trip? Just the two of you? My daughter's face went pale. How did you know about that? So she has talked to you. She said it was supposed to be a surprise, a mother-daughter weekend in Florida to visit Karen. Emma was looking at me with growing alarm. Dad, what's going on? I took a deep breath. This was the hardest conversation I'd ever had to have. Your mother is planning to leave me, Emma. She's been having an affair, and she's planning to take you with her when she goes. Permanently. Emma stared at me for a long moment, then started shaking her head. No, that's not... Mom wouldn't do that. She would, and she is. I pulled out the folder Karen had given me. I have proof. I showed her the emails, the bank statements, the evidence of Lisa's systematic deception. I watched my daughter's face change as she read, saw the moment when denial turned to understanding, then to anger. She was going to kidnap me, Emma said quietly. Legally, it wouldn't be kidnapping, but yes, she was going to take you away from everything you know without giving you a choice. Emma was quiet for a long time, staring at the playground where she'd spent so many afternoons as a child. When she finally spoke, her voice was hard in a way I'd never heard before. "What are we going to do about it?" "We are going to stop her," I said. "But I need your help." The plan we came up with was simple but effective. Emma would pretend to go along with Lisa's scheme, but instead of getting on the plane to Florida, she'd meet me at the airport. Meanwhile, I'd be ready with evidence of Lisa's fraud and theft to present to the authorities. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. And it was protection for the daughter who meant more to me than anything else in the world. That evening, Lisa was practically glowing with anticipation. She'd obviously spent the day making final preparations for her escape, and she could barely contain her excitement. "I have a surprise for you," she told Emma over dinner. "How would you like to take a long weekend trip with me, just us girls?" Emma played her part perfectly. "That sounds great, Mom. Where are we going?" "Florida. We'll visit Karen, maybe hit the beach, do some shopping." Lisa's smile was radiant. "We leave Friday morning." "What about school?" "You can miss a few days. This is more important." I watched this performance with a mixture of admiration and disgust. Lisa was so confident in her deception, so sure she'd outsmarted everyone. She had no idea that her carefully constructed plan was about to collapse around her. After dinner, I excused myself to work in the garage. But instead of fixing engines, I spent the evening on the phone with lawyers, police officers, and bank officials. By the time I went to bed, everything was in place. Friday morning, Lisa was up early, bustling around the house with nervous energy. She'd packed light, just one suitcase for what was supposed to be a weekend trip, but was really a permanent escape. "You sure you don't mind us going?" she asked me over breakfast, putting on one final performance as the considerate wife. "Of course not. You two deserve some time together." I kissed her cheek, tasting the lie on her skin. "Have a great time." Lisa and Emma left for the airport at 10 o'clock. I waited exactly 30 minutes, then made my calls. By noon, it was over. The police were waiting when Lisa tried to board the plane. The bank had frozen the accounts she'd been draining. Jake Morrison was being questioned about his role in the fraud scheme. And Emma was safe, standing beside me as we watched her mother being led away in handcuffs. "I can't believe she really tried to do it," Emma said quietly. "Neither can I, sweetheart. Neither can I." But I could believe it, because I'd seen the evidence with my own eyes. Lisa had been willing to destroy our family, steal our money, and kidnap our daughter, all for a man she'd known 6 months. She'd underestimated me one final time, and it had cost her everything. As we drove home from the airport, Emma asked the question I'd been dreading. "What happens now, Dad?" "Now we rebuild," I said. "Just you and me, if you want. Or you can choose to live with relatives, go away to school, whatever makes you happy. But whatever you choose, you'll be choosing it freely. No one's going to manipulate you or lie to you or try to steal your future." Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I want to stay with you." "Then that's what we'll do." That evening, I sat in my garage workshop, surrounded by the tools and projects that had always brought me peace. For the first time in months, the house was quiet. Not the tense silence of hidden secrets, but the comfortable quiet of honest people living honest lives. My phone rang. It was Karen. "I heard what happened," she said. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Emma's fine. That's what matters." "I'm sorry it came to this, Danny. I really thought I could talk her out of it." "You tried. That's more than most people would have done." "What will you tell people about why she left?" I thought about that for a moment. In a town like Meadowbrook, the truth would spread quickly. Lisa's reputation would be destroyed. Her name would become a cautionary tale, and everyone would know exactly what kind of person she really was. But Emma would have to live with that truth, too. "I'll tell them that sometimes people change," I said finally. "And sometimes the people we love become strangers we don't recognize. But that doesn't mean we stop trying to be decent human beings ourselves." After I hung up, I walked through my house. Really my house now, since Lisa would be spending the next few years in prison. It felt different already, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted from the walls themselves. In the kitchen, I found a note Emma had left on the counter. "Dad, thank you for saving me. Thank you for being the kind of person worth saving. I love you. Emma." I folded the note carefully and put it in my wallet, next to the picture of Emma on her first day of school. Some things were worth keeping, some things were worth fighting for, and some people, no matter how much you love them, will always choose to be the villain in their own story. But that didn't mean the rest of us had to let them win.